Warning, this video is intended for adult collectors. It contains plastic collectibles, questionable opinions, and the guy that won't leave Scott McNeil alone. You have been warned. This is Random Review.
Hello everyone! Once again we have another Studio Series Dinobot Leader Class release. This time it is Sludge, who I don't know why he showed up in my area so fast, but he did, so we're going to talk about him. And we're going to see if Studio Series Dinobots can keep their streak of 2 for 2 good toys. We'll see if they make it 3 for 3 at the end of the video. So, as we start, he is a Brontosaurus, classic 80s dinosaur design. Now, we're not going to get into the semantics of if a Brontosaurus is real or not, if it's a infantile Titanosaurus, or if it's just an alternate thing, or if it really is real. Don't care, it's a Brontosaurus. So deal with it. So, as we see, he is done in the traditional Dinobot colors of that metallic gray, as well as the gold going through around the head, a bit of the neck, and of course on the back as well. You can see a little bit on the underbelly too, but you're not supposed to look at that because that's a little bit of robot part. Just don't mind him. He's got a bit of a gut. Hey, to give him credit. Give him credit. Hard to put on weight when you eat nothing but leaves. You know, give him credit. So, the design itself, I mean, it's a Brontosaurus. What do you want? He looks pretty freaking good. There is a little bit of strangeness to account for his engineering. You can see in the tail section, not only is it a little bit blocky on the underside, but it sticks straight out, which is a pretty awkward position for a tail. It doesn't look natural. Whereas, on the G1 design, I think even on the Power of the Prime one, it sloped downward, like it's dragging on the ground. Here, it's just a big fat tail pointing straight back, and I know that makes the engineering more simplified, but it does kind of detract from the overall beast mode. It also makes him look a little bit stretched out, I find, because it looks like his body's going on longer than it's supposed to. But other than that, yeah, he looks pretty freaking nice. I love how much silver is on him, the entirety of the back as well as the end of the tail, to replace the chrome that obviously does not work on a modern release anymore, and I'm thankful for it. The toy itself in this mode is actually pretty playable when you start playing around with all the joints and articulation points. So, on the front legs, they do move forward, and they do have a swivel, as if they had like a thigh swivel. And also, just to get it out of the way, also because my hand knocked it out of the way, the gun store is on the bottom, so I'm going to go ahead and set that aside. But you can see the hips also splay out here. You also have a thigh rotation here. The knee down here works. It can go into that digitigrade, or you can try posing it forward if you're so inclined. The neck is the cool part. Everything above the shoulder line here is actually cool. You get this, which is on an interesting hinge that makes this look, as about as natural as it can, and then it moves all the way down like this, if you so choose. Yeah, it's probably best to stick there as about the default position. But on top of that, you also have a rotation of the neck, an opening jaw, and a head that does move up and down. So you can actually get some pretty nice poses out of this big dinosaur, which is actually pretty cool. Out of all the Dinobots so far, in beast mode, Sludge has the most functionality as a toy, if you want to goof around with a big silver Brontosaurus, that is. So, like I said, so there's not a whole lot there's not a whole lot more to point out. Like, the sculpting on it is fantastic. There's a lot of tech greebling going on. You can see across the top, there in the front of the neck as well. You can see a lot of these little spines running down the back, and we also have some dark gray paint, just giving him some lines running through the body. Overall, outstanding. I really like the beast mode. So, we're going to go into transformation now. Transformation's actually pretty involved, and you'll excuse me if I'm a little clumsy at it. I've been meaning to do this video for like 2 weeks now, and it's not come together. So I might be a little bit out of practice. So first thing I want to do is start getting a lot of this disengaged. The head goes forward, and I want to get these panels out as well and fold those out of the way. Start getting all this cleared up. I can also start undoing the back. This part doesn't really peg together as tightly as I would like, which is unfortunate because there's a lot holding together here. All right, so once we start getting a lot of this disassembled, we start figuring out where it's all going to go. So this whole section hinges up, and then you'll need to get the arms up out of the way to rotate them all the way around, and that's going to be what creates our robot mode chest. Before we lock it down, let's take care of these front legs, which are going to fold and tuck away inside what will become his torso, which is actually a pretty good way of getting those out of the way. I didn't think those words through. It's not the most well-written video because it's not written. But once those are out of the way, get these wings into position, and then maybe not do it when you can't see. But yeah, all this goes forward and creates the torso. We're going to leave that for now, and we'll get down to the legs, because the legs have something weird going on too. So, separate these out. Hinge here, separation point here, to bring that down. All that just to get that out of the way. All that just to get the tail into its proper position. Once it's there though, unfold the leg like so. This clips back into place. That's going to form up the back of the leg. Fold that up inside and then clip it back into place where it was in the beast mode. Flip that foot out and then fold the tail up on the side. Do that on this side, and we'll do it at a different angle so you can see a little bit more of what's going on. That goes out. Put that in. Put that back. That folds up. Oh. It folds up if I don't get carried away first, because I forgot to rotate that out. Let's try that again and do it a little bit more competently, please. Like so. There's your legs. Make sure the whole thing is holding together. Rotate all that around. You're just about done here. So we're going to move these big beast legs down. They're going to rotate at the bicep. And then we got to get these hands out, which can be annoying, but I have thumbnails. And I don't mean pictures, previews of the video. I mean like actual thumbnails. So I can actually get those out, no problem. Now, I did forget to flip the head up, so we'll go ahead and do that. Then we'll come back here and clean up the back. We'll do so by folding these feet down like so. And then the beast mode head is going to hinge down like this. Bring it all the way down. I like to make sure the head and the feet line up so they have maximum amount of clearance. On the back, go ahead and make sure those panels are pegged into the sides like so. And that's going to complete the robot mode for Sludge. Phew! Alright. As far as transformation goes, by far the most involved. Like, in order to get him looking like this and to get all of the extraneous beast bulk packed away, especially into the legs, he's doing a lot. This toy does a ton of flipping and moving in order to get to the point we are at now. And it's a really impressive engineering job. By far the most complicated out of the 3 leader class Dinobots so far. Once we get him into robot mode, you can see the red has completely started dominating his robot mode, and his wing has irritatingly decided to be annoyance. There we go. But yeah, we have a very classic looking Sludge, silver on the arms and legs. A lot more of the black is exposed now thanks to the fists as well as his pelvis and thigh region. His shorts. I'm going to call them his shorts. And then Everything else pretty much ends up in the traditional spot. The beast mode tail doesn't hang down from the knee anymore. It's going up, so it all kind of slopes together toward the knee, makes a more solid looking profile. The wings are accurate to his animation model and original toy, so we're not going to knock that, or the backpack. Pretty much a necessity if we're going to keep the playability in the neck. Don't really mind this at all. Looks perfectly fine. Outside of the fact that it is a pretty big set of wings, so it can feel like it's getting in the way of the arm articulation, and there's no way to fold them any farther back because it's the hinge piece on the back that plugs in to the side of his leg rather than the actual wing itself. So if I try to move it farther back, it's going to disconnect. It's going to disconnect the pegs, and that's going to cause it to be a lot more floppy. So it's a give and take thing. Now, I wish they moved a little bit farther back, but that's a minor nitpick. We've got other stuff about this to actually talk over, and we're gonna go in and take a look at the head sculpt. I think it captures Sludge pretty nicely. It looks really, really good. I really like how it's looking. The bright blue eyes painted really well. He does get across his role. He is traditionally the dumbest of the 5 Dinobots, and he does have that big lug look to him. Very accurate, very, very, very nicely detailed. Really dig it. We'll go into some of the finer details too. As long as we're close up here, you get the Autobot symbol there in the chest, as well as a little bit more tech greeble. That red, very, very brilliant. You can tell there's not a whole lot of paint on the robot mode, and it doesn't really need it. You know, he was basically a very solid color character, so not really that surprising that he's pretty barren as far as the painted details go. Not necessarily a bad thing. Once we get to the feet, the striping from the robot mode is still there, and now we can see that extra gold actually makes up his feet. So those were hiding in the belly. What I also really like is you look on the side, aside from the fact that you're not getting any like hollow plastic look here on the side of the robot mode or in the back of it, look at how well like all that beast mode kibble folds up to create the leg. Like the engineering level that they are going to get these Dinobots as nice and tightly designed as they are is pretty scary. Like that someone actually thought to get the toy to work this way to get such a clean result, I think is really, really impressive. So that is a beautiful looking figure. We have to talk the bad news because next up is Poseability, and that's where the biggest problem with this toy lies, unfortunately. Now, for starters, I am going to go ahead and give him his blaster rifle, which is a little bit annoying to put in because his wrists, because of transformation, hinge downward, so you got to make sure the hand is supported when you plug it in. And it's not a bad blaster. Nice and solid, gold paint there for nice accents. He does not have a sword either because, recall, they didn't have swords in the cartoon. So cartoon accurate Dinobots don't necessarily need them outside of Snarl. He's the only one who actually had one in the show. So just wait, just wait. Wouldn't surprise me if the swords came later. Real problems, however. Real things wrong with the toy. So for starters, you'll notice he does not have any accessory figure. I don't really care personally. Like I said, I always felt like those were put in so that when the budgets shrank, all they had to do was kick that little extra figure out and keep the toy basically the same as the others. And that seems to be what has happened. We also have a listing for Snarl coming up, and there's no little extra character listed with him. So I think I'm on the money. But I'm putting it off because this sucks. This really sucks. So we take a look at the legs, and we're going to find that, yeah, even if I got everything like really nice and tight here, the legs themselves are just way too loose. So they hold poses, unless you like don't put them in exactly the right position. That one holds fine, but you can see where there's barely any resistance when I try to move them at the knee and when I try to move the thigh upward. It's just way, way too floppy. Yeah, I shouldn't be able to do that. I really should not be able to do that. Hang on. Yeah. Yeah, Grimlock King. Grimlock don't do that. That's really bad. That is really bad. And from what I can tell, that's pretty universal. I've seen a lot of feedback posts in my area about this toy, and they all pretty much have the same horror story. The legs are really loose on this. Now, the good news here is that Sludge appears to have screws everywhere for his leg assembly, which means it's going to be pretty easy to take things apart and fix things internally, whether it's with a 3D printed edition or a third-party gear or something that rectifies that articulation problem. Wouldn't surprise me if it was already available. You shouldn't have to need that, though. I shouldn't have to pay extra just to make a toy work the way it's supposed to. So, unfortunate design flaw going on here. Outside of that, the articulation is really, really good, just like any of the others in this line. So, the head goes left and right, no problem. It goes up and down a little bit thanks to the transformation hinge. Shoulder, yep, shoulder, universal, works on a swivel and hinge system. Full 360 bicep rotation. Great elbow joint, bending double, so beyond 90 degree. Wrist rotation is there. Waist rotation, all the way around, no problem. Then we get to those leg articulations that we talked about. Outward and forward, universal hips, thigh swivel works. Knee, 90 degree bend, ankle tilt, all there. Great articulation all around. The joints are tight enough that it does hold a pose. So you saw the legs kind of flopping around and giving out on me while I'm manipulating this for the sake of the review. But, you know, if you actually just pose it and leave it, it holds. So if you're just going to put it on a shelf and let it look pretty, you're fine. But it is unfortunate because those legs should not be that loose. And it does make me worry for the future as the toy wears down. Because that's not going to take too much heavy play or posing to really work itself down to the nub and just be a floppy mess. Hang on 1 second. Let me go set this up, because I think at the very least we should end off on a happy note, which is very nice shot. As we see, I got Slug with me. I got Grimlock here. So let's at least see the three together, because it is a beautiful sight to see all three of these big boys together. So that is Studio Series Sludge. I mean, I don't want to call it a bad figure, because like I said, the engineering is fantastic on it. It's a marvel of engineering. And then just how good the beast mode works, I think, is a big credit to the toy. It's everything else once you get into the robot mode. He looks fine. He plays fine. It all comes down to those hips. And when the hips and the knees are bad and loose, that can decimate the entire figure, because now posing is difficult. Now actual playtime with it doesn't feel as good. So it makes it really, really hard. It's a good toy. It's a really good toy, but it has a very big problem. I'm not going to say, they're now 2 for 3 on good Dinobot toys. 2.5 out of 3. At the very least, Sludge should be fixable. Whether or not Hasbro's going to do that in a later run, someone's going to make new gears for him. Just buy the third-party gears. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.